All right, guys. This is the final part of the ZWL Line Recovery Tool playlist. Today, we are just gonna give tutorial on how to use it and talk about the general process we went through for running it, as well as future plans and funding. Let's get started with a demo. Oh, before we do that, let's talk about the purpose of this tool. I just realized that I never talked about why we even need a tool. ZWL Lite recovery tool. What is this guy, and what does it do? What purpose does it have? So let's talk about ZWL Lite first. ZWL Lite is the first popular wallet, mobile and desktop, for Zcash. Before it, the only way to use Zcash was to run a full node, and running a full node is not very friendly. Well, back in the days, it was not too bad because you didn't have too many blocks. The blockchain was young, but as it grew, the size of the blockchain grew with it, and expecting users to download the entire blockchain and process the entire blockchain on a mobile device was unrealistic, especially since the protocol at the time was Sprout. And Sprout is much more resource intensive than Sapling. So with ZWL Lite, users could have finally a wallet that would work on a mobile device as well as a desktop. Let me go to the ZWL Lite homepage. Therefore, ZWL Lite was the most popular wallet for Zcash. Arguably, it's probably still one of the most popular wallet by number of installation. I think they have at least 5,000 deployments out there. But unfortunately, any good thing comes to an end. And about 2 years ago, the developer of ZWL Lite decided to move on, and he ceased to work on the wallet, on the software. He archived the GitHub repo, and essentially he disappeared from the Zcash community. Most of the users were aware of this. They knew he announced it 6 months in advance. I think even more than that, maybe 1 year, 6 months to a year in advance, that the software was going to be deprecated, and offered plenty of opportunity to migrate the funds out of ZWL Lite. But I mean, always you would have people who don't follow these forums, and now that the price of Zcash has it increased in the past few months. Now it went down again, but at some point ZEC went up and people wanted to sell, and they had very old coins, the coins that were no longer accessible in ZWL Lite, because even though the app was still working, this app by design connects to the servers that this developer was managing, and connects to this domain zwl.co, but these servers are down. Unfortunately, also the part of the issue is that ZWL Lite, the website, is still up, and it's still mentioned on some old pages that ZWL Lite is the official wallet for Zcash, which technically it is not. There was never an official wallet for Zcash. Maybe now Zachi is the official wallet for Zcash because it's developed by the ECC. But anyway, back in the days, ZWL Lite was only was only official in the sense that it was the only one, and it was semi-endorsed by the developers of the coin, the ECC and the Zcash Foundation. But it was never officially the wallet for Zcash. This leads to the point that now if you have funds in ZWL Lite and you believe that you have they have safe because migration will be always guaranteed, this is not the case. The wallet, the application, cannot be launched anymore. If you have it on the cell phone, it would try to connect to the server. It would never connect because the server is down, and it would just hang there. Problem with using it on the mobile is that you have no way to access the data file. If you have it on desktop, you can kind of fiddle with the installation, look for your installation files, your data files, and recover your wallet from there, essentially going through a back door. But on the mobile, this is not possible. Therefore, it has left a few users stranded. They have the application, but the application doesn't work anymore. So this tool, ZWL Lite Recovery, is there to help you get your funds back by moving everything that is under ZWL Lite to the address of your choice. So essentially what you would do is you would create a new wallet using Sachi, using Y Wallet, using Zingo, whatever you want, and then use the tool to scan the funds that were on your old wallet, and that tool will make a transactions, one or many transactions, to move all these funds to the new address. And you don't necessarily have to do that, but you may need to do that. So let me explain why sometimes you don't need to do that if you still want to recover your funds from ZWL Lite. The first case where you don't need to do that is if you have only one shielded address and one transparent address in ZWL Lite. In this case, the seed phrase that you have, let me say first that you need to have the seed phrase. If you don't know the seed phrase, obviously this tool will not work. The seed phrase is the key to your account. This 24 words mnemonic seed phrase is required to migrate your funds, regardless of what technology you have, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's Ethereum, whether it's Zcash. You always need to have the seed phrase if you want to have access to your wallet. So this is a prerequisite, and we assume that you have that, obviously. So the reason why you may not need to use this tool, ZWL Lite Recovery, is if you have only one shielded address and one transparent address, because the algorithm for calculating the address, the first address, is the same between all the wallets that I mentioned earlier. Whether it's Zachi, whether it's Zingo, whether it's Y Wallet, they all use the same derivation method to go from the seed phrase to the first account, for the first address, sorry. Therefore, if you only have one, then you just can go and enter your seed phrase into any of the modern wallets, and your funds will be accessible. Of course, you still need to synchronize, but that's nothing else you need to do. You don't need to use the tool. This tool, the ZWL Lite Recovery, ZWL Recovery, is needed or is convenient if you have created more than one address in ZWL Lite. The reason is that ZWL Lite derives additional addresses from the seed phrase in a fairly unconventional way, in a way that is not compatible with other wallets because it's unexpected. The transparent way to derive addresses is fairly standard, so there's a chance that other wallets will find your funds, especially wallets like Exodus, Atomic, or Ledger, which have fairly similar derivation algorithm. They will be able to find your transparent funds or Y wallet. But for the shielded addresses, if you have created more than one, or you have added addresses on top of the default one, they will definitely not be found, because the way ZWL Lite creates these Again, it's not standard. It's not supposed to be this way, but historically speaking, they have done it this way, and now your funds are in these addresses, and you have to have a software that is compatible with this method of calculating shielded addresses. And that's exactly what this tool, ZWL Light Recovery, does. So let me give you a quick demo. The source code is on GitHub. It's a fairly simple app, so you have the source code here, and you can build it from source code, of course. These are the steps to build from source code. Also, you have binaries that are automatically created by GitHub. So these releases here, you can be sure that they are not tampered with. They come straight from the source code because they were built by GitHub and by the actions in the workflows. And we have only two types of distributions. We have the Linux distribution as an app image, and we have a Windows distribution. We haven't done any mobile version of this because, as you can see later, this application takes a long amount of time, very long time to run, may take a very long time to run, and therefore you need to have power supply to keep it running. I don't have either the macOS version because macOS now requires code signing, and don't have access to a developer account at this time. So we only have Linux and Windows. Linux is also a little bit fishy because there are so many different distributions of Linux that having one that is compatible, that having an app image that works on all of them is impossible. You would have a really big image. You already have nearly 90 megabytes for this app image compared to the only 8 megabyte for the Windows version. So you can see that the app image already bundles a lot of libraries that we don't need to have on Windows because they are part of the operating system. Again, this is just because there's so much variation between distributions of Linuxes that it's nearly impossible to have a binary that works on all of them. I'm going to use the Windows version because I think for most of you, Windows will be the operating system of choice. Let's go and download this binary. You can see it's fairly fresh. It was just built 45 minutes ago. If you download from Windows, you have this warning that it's not known by their servers. Obviously, it's a binary that was just created. So we'll go ahead and still say I want to keep it. There are more warning about like, do you really want to keep it? In this case, yes, I do want to keep it. And I can then open it. All right, it shows you a setup. You should go through the setup. I have installed it before, therefore I want to reinstall it. The path here should be okay. You can use another path if you want. And now we're done, right? We have options to run it and to create an icon. So let's do that, both of them. We have an icon and we have the app here. All right, the app is very simple. It asks you for your seed phrase. There's a default seed phrase here, but obviously this is not going to be the right seed phrase. This is just one for testing. There's a destination address, so where you want the funds to be sent. And well, obviously you need to have the secret key of that destination address, otherwise all your funds will be gone. Then you want to give the number of transparent addresses that you have in ZWL Lite. This should be upper bound. You don't have to have the exact number of transparent addresses because it's very fast to scan transparent addresses. If you know that roughly you have 10, you created 10 transparent accounts in transparent addresses in ZWL Lite, you can say 20. It's not going to change much. Again, it assumes that you don't have access to ZWL Lite, so you don't know how many you have, but you need to give the best guess you have for this number. This number here is more important. It's the number of shielded addresses that you have. So the number of additional addresses that you have created in the ZWL Lite minus 1, because you have a default address. So if you have created 2 additional addresses, then you, of course, you have to put 3 here. This number here also has to be an upper bound. If you think you have created 5, but you're not entirely sure, maybe you should put 6 or 7. But this number here is much more important than this number here in terms of estimation, because scanning shielded addresses takes it grows linearly in time. If you have 2 shielded addresses, it's gonna take 2 times longer than if you only have 1. Twice the time, which I should say, than if you have 1. So if you put 10 here, it's gonna scan 10 shielded addresses, and it's gonna take 10 times the time that you would have taken if you had only 1. So be careful of the number you put here. Don't put it too high, otherwise this program will really take forever. But don't put it too low, because if you put it too low, then you will not find the funds. Then the next number here is also very important. It's the birth height of your wallet. The birth height of your wallet is the height at which your wallet was created. I probably don't really know the exact number. Again, it doesn't really matter. You have to put a number that is lower than the real height, because the tool is going to start scanning from that particular height. If you really don't know, you can put 0, but that means that the tool will scan everything. It's probably safer if you want to scan everything, but it may take a considerable amount of time, especially if you have the period starting from 1.7 million to about 2.1 million. This is known as the sandblasting range, where the Zcash blockchain saw an increase of nearly 100-fold in terms of transactions. All these transactions are probably not yours, but just to be sure, we have to scan them, because we don't know if you have funds in them in there. Therefore, if you have funds between 1.7 million and 2.1 million, and you have to scan therefore before the 1.7 million, then it's very important that you put the right number of shielded addresses here. In any case, this period of time will take you hours to scan. So, and the entire run may take days. And finally, the last parameter is where you want the data to be coming from. So I put one of the public Light Wallet D servers. You have others. This one is okay. If you are running your own, if you have a local installation of Light Wallet D, by all means make this point to it. You will save a lot of time in downloading. These are defaults that probably do not make any sense in your case, because you really need to change the seed and you really need to change the destination address. So these 2 guys must be changed, obviously. And then you press submit. Just gives you a reminder that this process can take a seriously long amount of time. There's going to be a progress bar here. Starts at 0. It's not super smart. It should start actually at birth height, but internally it's using the birth height. So you can see that these numbers are very recent, so the scan is complete. The tool doesn't really tell you anything. Once you go back to this front page, it means that it has been done. The funds were collected and silently sent. So you just have to wait for your destination address to receive the funds. This is just because I expect you to run this tool unattended. You fill this stuff, and you press submit, and you go away, do other things, because it takes days to finish it. And when you come back, if you see this page, you have already the funds in your destination address. So all in all, it's a fairly straightforward tool. And I hope that it will be useful if you have funds stuck in ZWL Lite. Now let's move on to other topics I wanted to talk about, which is how I intend to fund this project. So as you can see, the project is finished, and the code is released. The GitHub version, the GitHub repository is public. I don't really foresee any additional work. All in all, this took about 8 hours of work, I would say. I have put a playlist on YouTube that follows the development of this tool live. So as I was coding, as I was designing this tool, you have screen recording of everything that I went through. All in all, it's about 6 hours and a half of live stuff. But I think you can add a few more hours for packaging and testing that were not recorded. So all in all, I would say between 8 to 10 hours. I would say that in terms of development cost, so to me, how long it took me to develop it, I would consider this a 10-hour project. It's obviously going to be different if you're talking with somebody else who may not be who may be faster, who may know the development faster, or it could be slower. So I'm just talking for myself. In my case, this tool took me 10 hours to code. Well, up to 10 hours to code. And the reason I'm saying that is that I spend these 10 hours out of my free time. I don't expect to be really funded for this. I'm not going to submit grant on Zcash to the Zcash organization, but I'm curious about how these kind of projects could be funded in the future. So let's assume that you are a new developer, and moving forward, the community wants to move towards self-funded projects. So projects that are not receiving funds directly from the mining reward. So if these projects have to be funded without this inflow of funds, they have to find donations, and that's what I have put here. I put a transparent address because it's the shortest address. But in the README, in the project README, you would have sapling, and you also have the unified address. So this is the unified address, and this is the sapling address. Depending on what your wallet can do, you may prefer to use one of these two other addresses. The intent here is to see how much organically such a project can be funded, considering that there is known demand for it, because there are a lot of people who have reached out to the forums to talk about how to recover their ZWL Lite funds. I know there's some demand, but I'm curious to know if that demand is enough to cover the 10 hours of development. So if you consider that a regular developer is paid let's say between $100 and $200 an hour, at the current price of 50, that's 4 ZEC per hour, and it took 10 hours. So to break even, it would be 40 ZEC. So I'm curious. I just want to know if this tool will receive 40 ZEC in donation. If yes, great. If no, then it's not a big deal. It was fun running it. It was interesting to see how to build such a project live. So it was not a very major investment. Therefore, it's also fine if I don't recoup my cost, which is like whatever. So all in all, this is the point of this video. First was about giving a quick overview of the context. then giving you the a quick demo, and finally talking about the funding of such projects. That's it. That's what I have, and I wish you happy holidays.